The U.S. and Ukraine have agreed on the terms of a draft minerals deal central to Kyiv's push to win Washington's support as President Donald Trump seeks to rapidly end the war with Russia. That's according to two sources who spoke with Reuters. Trump indicated Tuesday he would meet with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky later this week to finalize the agreement, which could open up the country's vast mineral wealth to the U.S.
I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal.
Trump also said there needs to be some form of peacekeeping troops in Ukraine if an agreement to end the conflict is struck. Moscow has refused to accept any deployment of NATO troops. Trump's rush to impose an end to Russia's war in Ukraine has stoked fears of far-reaching U.S. concessions to Russian President Vladimir Putin that could undermine security in Ukraine and Europe and alter the geopolitical landscape.
Najat al-Agha has been waiting for her son, Dia al-Agha, to be released from Israeli prison. After more than 3 decades inside, he was to be freed as part of the Gaza ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. But Israel has postponed releasing the 620 Palestinian prisoners and detainees, saying it wants assurances first. Najat, who says she waited for 12 hours at the handover point in Gaza, has been inconsolable ever since.
I was telling them, you go home, I will stay in the cold until I have Dia in my arms. At the end, they took me and forced me to go, but I wished I could have stayed until Dia was released in the place that I was sitting.
Dia was 17 when he was imprisoned in 1992 for killing an officer of the Israeli spy agency Mossad. He was sentenced to 99 years in prison and has lost his father and sister during his time in detention. He is among 18 Palestinians detained for 30 years or more and has become known as the Dean of the Prisoners for spending so long behind bars. In preparation for Dia's release, Najat says she searched Gaza's ruined streets for modest supplies to welcome him home. Israel cited humiliating ceremonies when it delayed handing over the Palestinians at the weekend. That's a reference to recent handovers by Hamas that UN officials said went against international law. Hamas has made hostages appear on stage in front of crowds and sometimes speak. Coffins containing hostage remains have also been carried through crowds. 63 more captives, less than half of whom are believed to be alive, remain in Gaza and are due to be released under the 3-phase ceasefire deal. The conflict was triggered on October 7, 2023, when Hamas killed around 1,200 people and took 250 hostages, according to Israeli tallies. Israel's retaliation has killed at least 48,000 people, Palestinian health officials say, and laid much of Gaza to waste. But despite the devastation around her, Najat remains hopeful that she will soon embrace her son after so many years apart. When he gets out, she says, I will do everything he wishes, adding that the first thing will be to help him get married so he can build a family.
New car sales in Europe were down by over 2% in January. A jump in fully electric and hybrid electric car registrations in main markets was not enough to compensate for falling petrol and diesel sales. Industry data showed on Tuesday that overall sales in France, Italy, Germany and Britain were all down from last year. Only Spain recorded year-on-year increase among top-selling nations. The EU executive will present auto sector plans at the beginning of March, following talks with automakers, unions and interest groups. Car makers are struggling to compete with Chinese rivals and are bracing for US tariffs. They've urged the Commission to grant relief from potential fines resulting from CO2 car emission targets that came into effect in January. Some automakers have increased the prices of petrol engine models to encourage EV adoption, but the industry fears customers will simply buy fewer cars. January sales in the EU, Britain and the European Free Trade Area fell slightly below 1 million cars sold, the lowest volume since August. Registrations at Volkswagen and Renault grew by 5.3% and 5.4% respectively, while they fell by 16% at Stellantis. In the EU, sales fell by 2.6%, even as the registrations of battery electric and hybrid electric cars grew by 34% and 18.4% respectively. US President Donald Trump has raised tariffs on aluminium and steel and threatened a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, as well as on all autos and semiconductors.
Hollywood stars gather for the movie industry's top honours, the Oscars, on Sunday. But who will take home the Academy Awards' most coveted statuette for Best Picture remains unclear. The Brutalist, in which Adrien Brody plays a Hungarian immigrant trying to rebuild his life in the United States, had been an early frontrunner. But it was Conclave that won Best Film at the UK's BAFTAs, as well as Best Movie Ensemble at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. And many consider Anora, about an exotic dancer who gets involved with a Russian oligarch's son, a strong awards season contender. Director Sean Baker triumphed at the Critics' Choice, as well as Producers and Directors Guilds of America Awards. Tim Richards is founder and chief executive of cinema operator View.
And I think it's really going to be down to Anora and The Brutalist. And I think one will win Best Director, and I think that one will win Best Film. It's possible that Anora might make a clean sweep, but we'll have to wait and see.
Winners in the Best Actress and Best Actor categories might be more clear-cut. Adrien Brody has won several lead actor awards for The Brutalist, though he did lose out at the SAG Awards to Timothée Chalamet for his portrayal of Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. Demi Moore has been repeatedly honoured for her performance in body horror The Substance and is expected to win at the Oscars. Ian Sandwell is Digital Spy's movies editor.
They're going to be looking at it because they want to see Demi Moore win and be on the Academy stage for her first ever Oscar nomination, first ever win, hopefully, when it comes to it. It's just a great story in Hollywood. Hollywood loves a comeback.
However, as with any awards ceremony, viewers should be prepared for more surprises. Fernanda Torres has already won a Golden Globe for I'm Still Here, in which she portrays a mother who rebuilds her life after her husband goes missing during Brazil's military regime in the 1970s.
So she could well be a surprise and the only one to take it away from Demi on the night.
Sandwell also thinks I'm Still Here could potentially pip Spanish language film Emilia Perez to the Best Foreign Language Film accolade. Emilia Perez, in which Carla Sofia Gascon plays a Mexican cartel leader who transitions from a man to a woman, had been an early awards frontrunner. It leads Oscar nominations with 13 nods, but its campaign lost steam following controversy surrounding Gascon, who has apologised for past social media posts. However, Zoe Saldana has dominated this awards season's supporting actress category and is expected to win again on Sunday.
A massive power outage left Chile's capital, Santiago, in darkness on Tuesday. Chile's government announced a state of emergency and a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for the regions from Arica in the north to Los Lagos in the south. In a late-night address to the nation, Chilean President Gabriel Boric said 8 million homes were affected, but power has been restored to about half.
At this time, of the 8 million households that were without electricity, about half have been gradually regaining power, but in an unstable way. Of course, we will continue monitoring the situation so that the power companies restore services for each of the households in Chile as soon as possible, because we know that this situation is still unstable. As a government, we have the duty to be very much on top of this.
While the outages stretched across the country, the Interior Minister said the widespread blackout was caused by a transmission line failure in the north, where there's a concentration of copper mines. A source told Reuters that Escondida, the world's largest copper mine, lost electricity, while state-owned miner Codelco said all its mines were affected. Chile's National Electricity Coordinator said it was still investigating the cause of the outage.